Hello and welcome back again to the ProDota 2 National Cup here on ProDota EN. This is going to be game two of a two-game series between Germany and Portugal. Should be a pretty entertaining game too. I'm Grandis V, once again joined by More Rage Please.
Yeah, Germany looking really well synergized in game one. Some great rotations from both the Clock and the Queen of Pain early on were allowed them to stall the game out a bit. They got a lot more in the off lane than Portugal did, and they were able to translate into some really good engagements mid game. Translate that into a couple Roshans, some pushes, and as you mentioned before, methodically able to take down Portugal. Portugal looked pretty damn good in the early laning stage. And if they're able to translate that into something in the mid game, maybe get their mid laner more involved in this game too, I could definitely see them tying up this series 1-1.
Yeah, for sure. They got a lot of early advantage for Hendrix on the silencer. And maybe if he went for that Shadow Blade first instead of going for the Force Staff, their chances would have been a little bit better, although it would have been riskier for sure. They just kind of need to activate him in some way. It kind of felt like the Globals were a little bit underwhelming, and that is the risk of running a silencer in general. Sometimes it just doesn't work out for you. A mediocre global silence is really bad as far as the hero
Yeah.
pick is concerned.
Yeah, it's almost a detriment to your lineup because it allows that window where the other team can start to get aggressive on you. So once again, we'll see some pretty standard bans from both sides. Lena Leshrock coming out from the Portugal side, and Tusk Bounty Hunter going to be removed from the arena. We'll see if they pick up a gyrocopter for themselves here. Zinxis looked very good on the PL though, so definitely seems like a flexible one position, and not that they need to pick up his hero too early on. Coop looked pretty good on the Queen of Pain, didn't get as much farm as he'd wanted to, but his rotations were on point. So maybe we see either of those pickups come out.
Gyrocopter is again available for the first pick should they want to pick that up for themselves, but as far as the other bands, it's exactly the same as from game one. They're going to pick up Queen of Pain, potentially for Cube. Maybe they'll shuffle around their roles again for game number two, but Cube's Queen of Pain in game number one was reasonable, although maybe not individually as explosive as
Right.
some other Queen of Pains. He helped out the team a lot. He was very mobile around the map, constantly rotating, and honestly, it looked more like an offlane Queen of Pain than mid Queen of Pain, even though that was the lane assignment.
Yeah, definitely. So a little bit more made a little bit more use of his levels as opposed to the farm that he was able to accrue. But either way, it's definitely worth a first phase pickup here. It looks like something that Germany is very comfortable with. They can go right back for the gyro. I wouldn't even mind that pickup. But maybe a little bit of a different item build. Maybe they get some heroes that are able to create a little bit more space for this gyro to allow him to do damage in the engagements here. Last time, of course, having that silencer and the Darks hero, you don't really see either of those heroes as frontliners necessarily. Maybe the Darks hero is somewhat of an initiator, but picking up that mech first, no blink dagger, and forcing that gyro into that early BKB just really didn't have enough output in the engagement. So we'll see if they do anything differently here. Expect the Earthshaker probably to come out beside this gyrocopter again, but definitely something Germany dealt with pretty well in game one.
Yeah, I don't think that should dissuade them from going for the gyrocopter. If for nothing else, you don't want to give away Queen of Pain and gyrocopter to the enemy team. Um, yeah, but still, I think working around it maybe a little bit better could serve them well. Get some stacks up for the gyro earlier on. Maybe have Earthshaker dedicated to doing that if they can ensure that mid lane's doing all right. It felt like there was a lot of time that wasn't very well utilized in game number one.
Wouldn't be surprised to see a Wyvern pick come out from Germany here. That was something that was banned out by Portugal last game, and it's pretty strong versus the gyro BKB or not, especially with the pure damage on top of it coming from the Queen of Pain. It's also good against the Queen of Pain, so wouldn't be too surprised to see that pick up. They could again go for the Clockwork. Felt like, as I mentioned, Feynman was kind of the X factor for the Radiant or for Germany in game one, so he definitely got a lot more than we would have expected him to out of that offlane, and they will opt to go for that once again.
Although shuffled around in place a little bit, this is the exact same opener we
Yeah.
saw in game number one. The sides are going to be flipped, and that is fairly relevant. Queen of Pain isn't a mid laner that wants to be relying on stacks as much as like a
Right.
Shadow Fiend or a Lina. And so the Radiant advantage for Queen of Pain isn't really there at all. And also Clockwork has a much harder time abusing the creep equilibrium in the
Yes.
offlane on the Radiant side. So I think this time around, this might be a slight edge as far as the draft is concerned for Portugal, but still, it's what they're comfortable with, and they just came off of a win with these heroes. They're very warmed up.
Yeah, Anti-Mage Band comes out second phase this time from Germany, so I mean, I guess they don't want to face up against that AM. Maybe they opt to go for the Storm Spirit that was banned out in game one from Portugal, and that AM ban may be indicative of that. But once again, as you mentioned, it's just a little bit odd, a little bit too reliant on the snowball for them to pick up those three heroes. But early PL ban comes out as well from Portugal, going to deny that up from Zigsis. So a couple of hard carries going to be removed in the second phase.
Since they banned Anti-Mage themselves, I'm pretty sure that was them wanting to set up for the PL pick, and then they banned Ember Spirit instead. But now they're going to ban Dazzle. Pretty interesting. Earthshaker Dazzle is a sporting duo that, although fairly on the defensive side and doesn't offer a lot of damage, can very easily protect farm of both the mid and safe laners. So it would have been a reasonable pick, but this also leaves Storm Spirit open for the Dire side. Although, granted, the lane isn't going to be great against the Queen of Pain.
Right.
I think it fits what they want to be doing. Just any sort of initiation, and if you can get the Orchid faster than the Queen of Pain, through usage of jungle mostly, that could end up being a really good pickup for their team.
Yeah, definitely so. Orchid would be a huge pickup here against everything so far that the Radiant have to offer. So I wouldn't mind to see the Storm Spirit pick up. They have the Earthshaker, as you mentioned, to kind of even out that matchup or give a slight edge over to the Storm Spirit mid lane. Dazzle ban is a little bit of an interesting one. Felt like it might be a little too defensive. Of course, once again, as mentioned, Dazzle definitely good versus the Clockwork. Earthshaker kind of already there for the counter initiation against the Clock, though. So interesting ban coming out from Germany. Not really sure why they go for that. The PL banned out, so maybe because they're expecting not to have the defusal. They don't want to see that Grave be there. Visage ban actually coming out from the Dire side here, so a little bit of respect then towards game one in the hands of a moment there. He definitely played very well. Was 5-1, I think, in the first 8 or 9 minutes of the game. So Visage definitely comboing up well with the Clockwork as well. So I'm net that kill in the jungle is going to be removed from the pool this time.
Yeah, very well. Rubik is going to be the pickup for the Dire team. Portugal, the Rubik is going to be really nice against the Clockwork and the Queen of Pain, both pulling the Clockwork outside the cogs. Or just getting the disable onto the Queen of Pain could be wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. So Rubik is a nice pickup, and also they probably didn't want to see it against their Earthshaker. Post used his Fisher to absolute exquisite. He was played exquisitely around that Fisher last game, and almost like he positioned himself even better than the Earthshaker did on the other side. They will opt to go for the Wyvern. I really like this pickup coming from the Radiant side. It does give a lot more to the Rubik to steal. The toolkit is pretty much all useful from the Wyvern there. So the Rubik pickup covers that a little bit. And they will opt for the Storm Spirit, as you mentioned, on the Dire side here. So it could be a very nice pickup. With the Overlord is sometimes even able to bring down the Wyvern solo kill, even before the Orchid with the overload charges. So it's a nice pickup. Allows them to translate a little bit more late game. It does kind of solve the issues that they had in game one in terms of giving their gyro a little bit more space in these engagements. So maybe the gyro is allowed to go for a little bit more damage heavy build here, a little bit more DPS, a little bit more potent, and therefore they can really look to fight in these engagements. So far, it seems like a much more well-rounded lineup from Portugal in this game 2 draft.
Very well. As far as the next couple picks are concerned, something like a Skywrath Mage might be pretty good for the Radiant team. Although not seen incredibly often, could be a nice instant silence to deal with the Storm Spirit and a massive amount of nuke to combo up with the Clockwork.
Yeah, the Winter's Curse there to deal with the Storm Spirit. The Ancient Seal will be nice as well. And of course, the Mystic Flare comboing up with both the Curse and the Cogs, as you mentioned. So even the Ancient Seal buffing up the magic damage that the Queen of Pain outputs with the Scream could be very nice. So Skywrath's not something we see all that often, but definitely has some real synergy with this lineup. And of course, counters up the Storm pretty well. So we'll see if they have to go for that. Of course, once Storm picks up an Orchid, it seems the other way around. Storm seems to counter Skywrath Mage. Very squishy, low armor hero early on, low base HP as well. So we'll see if they opt for that. It does allow them to have a little bit of lane presence. Wyvern has the Splinter Blast, but generally not considered the strongest lane presence in terms of zoning, and Skywrath would definitely be able to account for those losses.
Yeah, no matter what that offlaner is going to be. Right now, the most attractive offlaner is probably Darkseer, and although those two heroes don't kill off the Darkseer very much, the mass amount of poke is almost impossible for any offlaner, I want to say, to deal with. Between Arctic Burn and Arcane Bolt, it's actually just an offlaner's worst nightmare.
Definitely so. Thoughts for the one position on the Radiant side? I mean, they still have the Ember Spirit in the pool, but a lot of physical damage from the gyro. The Orchid also deals with him fairly well, so I don't really expect Germany to go for that here. I have seen Zinx has played a couple of times. But they're going to opt for the Clinks here. Interesting pickup into the Storm Spirit. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, usually Clink's, this patch at the very least, is going to be building Desolator. It's a massive amount of damage for them for single targets and could very easily deal with the Storm Spirit inside the duration of a Queen of Pain's Orchid. But they are going to be fairly ultimate reliant to get the lockdown through inside these fights, so they'll need something else to supplement that. But I think in general, Clink's is just a pretty good hero to have on your team. It doesn't function necessarily in the same exact fashion as it did, but Earthshaker and Rubik, if they get behind, Clinks gets in like an early Deso medallion, those heroes are going to melt, and also the towers and Roshan. Clinks is very good at taking the objectives if he gets an early start.
Yeah, I would love to see a disable heavy support, something like a Lion, come out for the Radiant side, but we'll see what they opt for here. The ban to come out now from the Dire. Dire still needing an offlaner. You mentioned the Darkseer is not bad here, but having the ranged core means that the Darkseer, he can still shove the lane, but can't really harass out this Clinks. So he deals fairly well with having even a one-on-one up against that Darkseer in lane. So maybe that gives a little bit of advantage to the Radiant side if they pick it up. The Darkseer ban actually going to come out from the Dire, interestingly enough.
Yeah, Darkseer probably wouldn't have been the pick, I want to say, for Germany, and I'm pretty sure that's a misclick. I'm thinking that they wanted that as their pick. And, yeah. And they end up banning that out. The chances of Darkseer working for the Radiant side, a dual lane with Clockwork and Darkseer could have functioned in theory, but I think their tri-lane is strong enough to where they could have dealt with that, and there's no major advantage for it. The ban coming out from Germany makes a little bit more sense. It's a Broodmother ban. They don't really have great heroes to deal with all of those spiders, and would have just in general been a nuisance. And I don't think you can ever call a Broodmother ban bad in the 5th stage.
No, I think it's a perfect ban coming out from the Radiant side here. I mean, they have ways to deal with it in the Rocket Flare and the Scream of Pain, but the Queen of Pain is not going to be present around that Brood early game, and the Clock probably won't either, so it's definitely a good pickup. Clinks is a little bit squishy before he picks up that Death Pack, so I really like that ban coming out there. We'll see what it ends up being for the offlaner from Portugal side. 20 seconds on that pick.
Yeah, and it will be incoming shortly. Since most of the common offlaners have been banned out already, maybe we're in for something a little bit different, or maybe even the Earthshaker goes in the offlane. It's going to be a pretty terrible lane for the Shaker, but if they feel there's another support that could have worked, and it's going to be the Lion, maybe that's the right option. It is going to give them a mass amount of disable. For the Clinks and Queen of Pain both, it's going to be very hard for them to stand and fight inside all of these engagements, unless they're the ones getting the jump on the line with Rubik. The line and Rubik are incredibly squishy and will be dropped in just a couple of seconds if they're caught out of position.
Yeah, I think even more so, it's a great deny pick coming out from the Dire side there. The Radiant could have used a lot of disable right now. As you mentioned, they're pretty ultimate reliant on lockdown, in terms of lockdown right now. They need the hookshot, they need the Winter's Curse in order for the Queen of Pain and Clinks to be able to dish out their kit here. So putting that Earthshaker in the core role, having the Lion combo up with the Rubik gives them a lot of disable, but also denies a lot of disable that maybe we would have seen the Radiant want. And they're going to go for the Silencer themselves here. So definitely very nice up against the Storm Spirit, as well as all these disable heavy supports. This one will probably be in a 4 role unless they put the Clockwork there, which is unlikely to say the least.
Yeah, and well, we'll have to see if the globals are going to be on point this game. It's mostly just anti-Storm Spirit. And is going to make Storm's life very hard inside this game to really get the appropriate initiations off. Global Silence, even from a support role, is just a brick wall that stops most of those jumps. Quickly, let's introduce our teams. On the Radiant side of the map, it is going to be Team Germany. Keep is going to be making reprise on Queen of Pain. A Moment's going to be playing the Winter Wyvern. Zinxis on the Clinks. Silence are going to be handled by Pos and Fimit, again on the Clockwork.
Yeah, over on Portugal's side for the Dire, they're going to have Runo actually switch out of that one position role over towards the off lane on the Earthshaker. That's going to leave Crystal on the Lion. Destro, the former off lane, are going to be picking up the Rubik towards the mid lane. Once again, it'll be Hendrix on his Storm Spirit, and Patrao this time going to pick up his Gyrocopter towards the safe lane.
Pretty interesting to see them move the Gyrocopter from game number 1 onto the Shaker. I'm not sure what actually prompts that decision. Most of our heroes are pretty comfortable for a lot of different players. They're generally pretty jack of all trades picks, so we'll have to see how that pans out for them, for better or for worse.
Maybe a little bit of boredom kicking in. You take the Shaker, I'll take the Gyro, not sure. I mean, Petrov played the Shaker last game, Ronald played the Gyro, but it is a core Shaker this time, so maybe Petrov not completely comfortable all by his lonesome in that lane, at least for the early stages. Looks like top bounty rune going to be contested heavily by the Dire side, and bot rune should be picked up by the Radiant here.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see any major contentions. A lot of drawings on the map coming out from the Clinks, and it looks like it is just going to be a 1-for-1 bounty. The Fisher's going to be dropped, Arctic Burn over the top, Winter Wyvern secures the bounty down in bottom, and Hendrix is going to get the bounty rune up towards top. That's going to favor the Dire side, excuse me, even though they didn't get both of the bounty runes, they got a bounty for their mid, and the enemy team can't really say the same. Cube, however, should still do very fine in this mid lane matchup as it is pretty one-sided towards the Queen of Pain, just with the range advantage. But Storm Spirit also gets a better block. So across the board, Storm Spirit's going to have a much better time than normally you'd expect.
Yeah, he should lose his lane, but has a really good starting circumstance for him, and especially considering that the bounty rune are not picked up by any of the cores, in fact, on the Radiant side. Xinxus didn't want to go for that bounty bot lane, having to skill his skeleton walk, of course. Having those searing arrows could be very useful to him in lane, especially up against the Earthshaker. They maybe even have kill potential here just with the two heroes, being that the Fisher is a little bit out of reach in terms of his mana pool. So we'll see when Rhino disconnects or reconnects if they end up going for this or not.
I don't think they'll be able to actually catch on to the Earthshaker, and it looks like everybody's just going to back off. That said, the Earthshaker is still not going to have a good time in this lane at all. It's triple ranged heroes up against the Earthshaker, and if he does try to stick in experience range, could very easily get cut out. I think this game, Earthshaker is probably just going to have to Fissure Block his creeps to try to get experience under the tower to the best of his ability. But as you kind of already pointed out, he doesn't have a lot of mana to work with, only one Clarity, and just now going to be getting the mana for another Fissure in just a couple of seconds. Up towards top, Clockwork is going to have a better time, although his experience is also going to be pretty terrible. If he uses the cogs defensively, could be in a lot of trouble. They might end up being more a hindrance than help.
Yeah, it's going to be a similar story. I feel he's going to have to try and just block the creeps and keep the equilibrium back. There's a lot of disable available to this Dire safe lane, so he's going to be in quite a bit of trouble if he gets a little bit too close.
Very well. Mid lane for now is going pretty well for the Storm Spirit. That early advantage really is going to help in these first couple of creep waves, and that's not to be underestimated in this game as a whole. Both of these heroes are probably going to be going for Orchid, and even if they don't, even if it is a Bloodstone build for the Storm and an Aghanim Scepter for the Queen, Hendrix is going to find himself in a much better spot because these first couple creep waves are very much in his favor. He has a full level advantage over the Queen, and a lot of harass going her way. Her bottle is going to be taking a long time to come out. Up towards top, Battery Assault going to put some damage onto Destro, but Fayman needs to be careful. They have Telekinesis, they have a Earth Spike, but Earth Spike has already been thrown out, and they don't have the Gyrocopter close enough to get that kill.
Yeah, intelligent play from him. He shoves the weight forward and knows that the Gyro's not going to leave underneath his tower and miss all that CS. So he puts a little bit of harass, uses a mana pool that he otherwise wouldn't here, and does have the cogs available. Isn't going to pop them though. Gets hit with the Earth Spike, but the Gyro's still way too far out of range to bring him down. A couple more right clicks though with the Fade Bolt, and he survives on 19 HP. He does have a salve, able to salve up. Will be able to bring out his boots as well fairly soon.
Yeah, a bit greedy by the Clockwork there, but he is going to preserve his salve and stay in lane a little while longer. Level 2.5, that's about where he's going to stay. A slight advantage over the Earthshaker when it comes to these off-lane performances, and the safe laners are pretty much dead even. This early game, again, is going to start on a very slow note. It's pretty weird to see supports so hands-off in this middle lane.
Yeah, they will now smoke up and look to get a little bit more active, though. Coop going to do what seems to be a little bit of stacking here as he jumps back towards his mid lane, but he's going to have a surprise waiting for him in form of the Rubik and Crystal's line. Unfortunately, line still only level 1, but with the Telekinesis and the Impale, they should be able to bring down Coop if he steps far forward, and now he does. They're going to be able to wrap down around him. He blinks out, though. He's having the smoke just run out of duration there. Gets a little bit fortunate at being daytime and is able to make it back safely.
Yeah, that's such an awkward time for these two supports to gank, and I think that's the only reason why that might have worked, because Queen of Pain's not going to be expecting that rotation, but I'm pretty sure they at least spotted out the movement of the two supports, maybe not the smoke itself, but at least the movement with the Observer Word that was placed. Until you have level 3 on the line, he's a very lackluster ganker. Level 1 Earth Spike is a pretty terrible spell.
Yeah, that's why they would have been hard pressed to bring down the Queen of Pain regardless. Hendrix only had about enough mana for 2 remnants, if that. at the time. So it would have been interesting with the overload to see if they get it. But heads up play there. Bottom lane, Runo going to take a lot of damage. Strafe going to be popped. And one more right click is not there into the fog. Does not have a Fisher to throw at him as the tower was beating on him as well. He's going to pop up a Mango Zinxis and continue to stay in lane. But Runo getting a little bit low. Will Clarity up now.
This is a level 5 Clinks versus a level 2, almost 3, Earthshaker to be fair, and he will get level 3 from this creep wave, but it's not even close inside these damage trades. Unless Clinks is fissured under his tower, I don't see it in any way, shape, or form going Earthshaker's way, and also if Silence or Winter Wyvern there, maybe that's even a kill. Everybody's going to resume their positions in a very defensive laning situation, but ooh, Sentry Ward placed out by the Dire team is going to miss the Observer, placed down by the clock. A big benefit of having this Observer Ward, it doesn't interfere with either of the camps, and if they place this Sentry Ward any further towards the right, it risks blocking their pull-through camp.
Yeah, he does get telekinesed up there, but Crystal a little bit too far away, and Clinks alongside a moment. Zinx is going to be able to bring down that Earthshaker finally, sitting in lane a little bit too low, around 40% HP there, and is finally brought down. First blood going Germany's way.
Yeah, I'm surprised he stuck around. A bit of an anticlimactic first blood. Sorry for missing that on camera. I didn't expect the Earthshaker to stick around so long. At this point, Earthshaker is effectively a support. And although he's getting a little bit more experience than the likes of the Rubik and the line, isn't going to be getting that much in this game. Still, mid lane, a very nice advantage for the Storm Spirit, which is, compared to how this lane is supposed to be going, wonderful for Hendrix. He pretty much had the perfect Storm scenario to start off this game, and he's rode it nicely. Queen of Pain is now reserved to taking a stack, although this is a very big one, and it's going to take a lot of time for the Queen of Pain to farm it. This is not what Queen of Pain really wants to be doing.
Yeah.
She'd much rather be sitting in lane and just crushing the Storm Spirit, but that's not how this lane worked.
Yeah, perhaps if she had Sonic Wave up, it'd be a little bit quicker. But we will see Hendrix rotate in and try and steal one of these stacks with a Haste Rune. And I don't believe he was spotted running up the stairs here. So he should be able to take that fairly reliably. We'll be able to do so. Leaves a couple of Mud Golems. But either way, another stack going to come through for the Queen of Pain. And as you mentioned, acting much like a Shadow Fiend here. They'll put a moment in the mid lane, give him a little bit of space. Poss has been completely free farming the jungle so far on the Silencer. Is level 4 and does have 10 CS. So that's definitely a plus for the Radiant in terms of their supports.
This stack is so low. If Storm Spirit goes around the corner now, he could steal so much gold.
His Illusion is going to scout it.
Oh, he wants it so bad. I'm not sure if he's going to go for it. He's going to try the Storm Spirit Illusion is going to scout. He's going to aggro it. And if he steals, this is so much gold away from the Queen of Pain. Cube does have the Sonic Wave, can't get it off. Hex goes there, and there's a fissure. Or Spike will connect. Cube gets the Sonic Wave off, kills off the line and most of the stack, and will be able to get out to safety. That was a close call for the Queen of Pain.
Yeah, Hendrix still picks up about 4 or 5 CS there, so definitely nice. And Runo, though, is going to be hit with the Arctic Burn now. Uphill, the Glaive going to hit him, but they're going to turn onto Poss, who doesn't have much mana. He's going to get cold embraced up, though, and he'll dodge the Enchant Totem with that. The Remnant and the Overload still more than enough to bring him down. Hendrix, a little bit low on mana, though, cannot ball out a moment. Just going to try and man up as a Wyvern against this Storm Spirit. It's going to take a lot of damage. Now Clink's coming in from the backlines, brings down the Earthshaker. The Scream of Pain will be there, too. A moment, going to be able to cold embrace up, and one last right click will not be enough with the Shadow Strike, though, and the tower hit. Storm Spirit now brought down, and overall, great trade for the Radiant side.
Yeah, so many kills going their way, and Klink's getting active early, soaring a medallion up. He does so much damage. This is going to be a little bit of time where the Klinks isn't farming, so he will fall behind in that respect to the Gyrocopter, but being involved in those kills and taking one of them is going to more than make up for that. Queen of Pain is going to kill off the Rubik in the river area. I didn't see that at all. Apologies there. Without a hookshot, it's difficult to line that up, but Rubik just got caught out in a corner, and Queen of Pain level 8 has so much nuke damage, even though her lane didn't start out in a great spot. Now she's at an advantage over the Storm Spirit.
Yeah, Clockwork just chasing him down with a battery assault there. So no hook, no cogs used. Telekinesis a little bit too late. Mid lane, Crystal is going to be brought really low by Zinxis, and they're going to jump forward, though. He will be able to get the Skeleton Walk off. This TP is going to come through as well from Destro. He gets the Telekinesis off. Now there's no Skeleton Walk available. Fade Bolt is there. He's got the Medallion reducing his armor, but the Cold Embrace there from the last second, and the Overload Charge will bring him down. Hendrick going to dodge one last right click, but Coop there with the Scream of Pain gives him a dominating streak now. Telekinesis on cooldown for 5 seconds. Coop taking a look at the Rubik, does have a Blink Scream available, is going to pop it, will be able to bring down the Rubik. No one there in time to punish Coop for it. He will be able to TP out in the fog. Well played by the Queen of Pain. Once again, much like the first game, gets a lot of momentum off kills here. CS isn't really astounding at all. Only 30 CS in 9 minutes, but already 5-0-1 on the Queen of Pain.
Yeah, this is going to help out the Radiant team quite a lot, but an issue that has not been addressed in any real significant fashion is the Gyrocopter up towards top. He's sitting on 57 and 21, having a really good time. Already has the Helm online and is going to look to start making some stacks. Queen of Pain going to Sonic Wave down the line in the mid lane. Another kill for Cube. These supports need to stop being stuck alone and probably need to group up with something. Ooh, that was maybe a bit risky by the Queen of Pain. They didn't have the greatest vision to go for that jump, but Cube is getting a lot of momentum.
Yeah, and now that the Gyro's all alone in lane, it's given space to Fimet to find his level 6. So we've got Runo, a Shaker, who's just now picked up his level 5, and already this level 6 clockwork can do a lot more, especially without the Earthshaker having any items. So things looking very good after what looked to be a little bit of a rough laning stage mid lane for the Radiant. They've kind of found farm on all their cores, and now Zinx is putting a little bit of pressure towards this tier 1 bottom. Runo already there, but no rotations just yet, and Hendrix having to back out of the jungle there. The Radiant vision, seeing him in the jungle there farming.
Yeah, and this vision is so aggressive. We take a quick look at it up towards top, inside the Radiant Woods and inside mid. They've pretty much drawn the line of what they want to be doing, and that's make sure that the Storm Spirit's not going to find any room to farm. Right now he has Soul Ring, Bottle Boots. This is pretty normal fare for a 10-minute Storm Spirit, but they want to make sure that he doesn't get anything on top of that. It's going to very much constrict the farming space of the enemy team, and I don't think that the heroes on the Dire side are really equipped to do the same. The Earthshaker in the offlane just can't have the same impact as a Clockwork. Although Fissure is an amazing spell, don't get me wrong, and a good Fissure block could net them kills, it really pales in comparison to a Clockwork once you get hookshot.
Yeah, they just found so much on all their heroes. I mean, we mentioned in the draft how Zinxis really could not be contested even one-on-one in the offlane, and Paz has been able to pretty much find solo XP the whole game. He's sitting on level 6 as a silencer, ahead of all 3 of the 3, 4, and 5 roles on the Dire side, and does have that global available as well as quite a bit of farm.
Yeah, well, Queen of Pain again on the warpath, this time with an Invis rune. Killing off Hendrix by herself is probably not an option for the Queen, but Rubik definitely is a very easy kill. They have a hookshot going to land it nicely onto Destro, and with just a couple auto attacks and one scream, it's a wicked sick for Cube. As far as wicked sick Queen of Pains are concerned, he's not snowballing as hard as maybe he could be, but he's still snowballing pretty darn hard. He's going to be going towards that Aghanim Scepter, has the point booster already, and 500 gold in the bank. This is lining up to be a very scary Queen of Pain game.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind the Orchid pickup here. Of course, the early Aghanims is going to be very nice versus targets like the Lion and the Rubik, and even the Core Shaker to an extent. But I wouldn't have minded the Orchid here, considering that they have been committing a lot to at least shut down this Storm Spirit. Speaking of which, he is going to farm up a triple stack now. Hendrix sitting on level 8, 4 levels in that Overlord, and 3 in the Remnant. Should be able to fire this pretty quickly. They will find Runnel once again. The duel of the Wyvern clinks in the bot lane.
Storm Spirit's low inside his own woods. A blink Sonic Wave gets this kill. They don't even need it. They'll commit the global to make sure that Cube is able to secure himself a monster kill spree. And on the Storm Spirit, no less. And while he goes for that, might have even stolen a couple of those creeps. Across the board, it looks like Germany are just getting a major advantage when it comes to these kill trades. Up towards top, Clockwork is isolated maybe a little bit, but throughout all of this game, it feels like Portugal are completely reactionary.
Yeah, they've been playing super defensive mid lane. Runo gonna TP in, catch an immediate last word. Sonic Wave onto 2, Scream onto 2 as well. One last right click brings him down. Earth Spike only hits onto the silencer. Hex is there onto Coop, but with the Rocket Flare and, one last right click, Coop is already godlike. 12 minutes in, 9-0-2 on this Queen of Pain. They bring down the tier 1 in the bot lane. They'll bring down the tier 1 immediately after that in the mid lane. And yeah, meanwhile, Patrao is completely free farming, but all the kills have still given Zinxis and Coop the momentum and the net worth advantage over him.
Yeah, this Gyrocopter needs to get active around the map. I think he's playing a little too passively. But then again, who does he partner up with to get kills? The heroes on the Radiant side are just a little too elusive. It's really hard to keep tabs on this Queen of Pain, and even the Clinks to a lesser extent is really hard to keep in one place, and whenever he has the Death Pact up, he's sitting on a good chunk of HP, almost 1500 here. The remainder of this Death Pact is still going to be there for a long time. Clockwork's around the corner, has a battery cell ticking, has a hook shot. They'll look for the Winter's Curse, catch it out onto Petrio. They'll leave the Rubik for later. Let's see if they can catch this kill. They'll look for the TP. Blind hookshot not going to come out, and Destro will survive, although the Gyrocopter is not a hero that Portugal can afford to lose. 14
Yeah.
to 2 is our kill score, and this is going from bad to worse. The map control that Germany are picking up is massive. Hookshot going to be absorbed by a wolf, but does that even matter? The battery cell taking on the Earthshaker means this is a very easy kill, beyond godlike for Cube. Storm Spirit's going to zip in, but he gets bounced back by the Cogs, has no further mana to pursue. Now the Storm Spirit's high and dry. Of course, Germany do need to make sure they don't get complacent, make sure they don't play too aggressive, but right now, the current pace, as long as they keep this up, this game is smooth sailing. How do Portugal pull this back into their favor?
You mentioned their aggressively natured vision before, and it's really been enabling them to get this aggressive on the map. And now the fact that they've have all tier 1 towers eliminated as well gives them even more presence. So now things are looking very, very abysmal for the Dire side. As you mentioned, there's very few ways for them to get back into it. One of them is to attempt a smoke gank here, and they are going to try and go towards Coop on the mid lane. It would be a big kill for this Queen of Pain beyond godlike streak onto her. The Cold Embrace sitting behind her. No Winter's Curse though, but they do bring in the Ags, which she just purchased, so even if she dies, she won't lose any mana. They're gonna jump forward. The global will be there immediately though. Coop able to make it out of the second missile. Jump forward. Sonic Wave. Scream onto 2. Brings down 1. Maybe will die here. The Cold Embrace gonna keep him up. The Echo Slam not gonna be there. Finger of Death will bring him down. It's a huge chunk of gold over to the Lion, but everyone else just crumbling on the Dire side. Couple more right clicks into Hendrix, who has no mana left. Clinks brings him down. He gets the Wyvern on the way, but it ends up being a 5 for 2. And it's a lot of gold going. It's over 1,000 gold going the way of the Lion, but overall, still a net change in a positive way for the Radiant side, and they should be able to pressure, if not bring down this tier 2.
It's incredible how close that trade was, since it was just a 2 for 5. That godlike spree going to the Lion, as you said, is going to give him a large lump sum of gold, but they need something now. If that was immediately the Blink Dagger on the Lion, that is a really big pickup. But he's only about halfway there, and actually getting the rest of that blink is going to be very difficult for the team. Still, I like that move. I think it's probably one of the only moves that you can make in this situation to go for that 5-man desperation smoke, but it was brickwalled by that global silence. Perfectly timed by Pos, and there just wasn't any opening.
Yeah, really, really good reaction timing by Pos on that global, and able to at least keep the Queen of Pain long enough to get a huge Sonic Wave off with a Scream follow-up. So Coop goes down, but they expend not only the call down, but also the Echo Slam and the Finger, all on that Queen of Pain, and pretty much allows everyone else to run freely through that engagement. Hendrix did some work in the backlines, but still not quite enough in terms of his item progression to really survive that after finding the kill on the Wyvern. So full Desolator now up for Xinxis, and this is going to be huge in terms of both bringing down Roshan, pushing, and team fighting.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous how much damage he's going to pump through. With just a couple of auto attacks even, the Lion is sitting at 2 armor, 663 max HP. The Rubik is at the exact same net HP, and although the Earthshaker has a little bit more, it's only a matter of shots before the Clinks is able to shoot him down. And with the Sonic Wave on top of that, these teamfights are going to be over in a flash. As you also said, it is very good for taking down Roshan, and if they can just find a couple of pickoffs, which should be pretty easy given the Clockwork and Queen of Pain situation, this could, like, absolutely snowball out of control. Xinxis is going to walk into the Roshan pit. He's going to try to do this solo, and although under normal circumstances probably not a good move, I think this game he probably can get away with it. But Invis Storm Spirit up towards top. They need to get a kill off of this. This is their response to Roshan, although maybe they don't know what's going on since they have no vision of it. It's already dead. They need to find a fight up towards top lane, and they're not going to. Clinks already has the Aegis.
Yeah, that ward over on the hill in the Radiant or in the Dire jungle has really paid dividends. Early placed early on, I should say, for the Radiant side, and that allows them to do the Roche, seeing 2 heroes under that, and a very intelligent play from them, backing off both the Wyvern and the Queen of Pain as soon as the Clinks goes into Roche, knowing that they would have the numbers advantage on the Dire side. So free Roshan going their way, a lot of experience as well. Level 13 Clinks, topping the net worth now, looking for a pick mid, and he will see Patral, who does have that call down, but a few right clicks should be able to bring him down here, just chunking away at that gyro. No Earthshaker nearby to counter initiate. Easy kill for Xinxis. They look for the hook shot as well. It's going to be just short of the ES. Electric Vortex will be there onto Coop. He'll be able to blink out Rocket Flare. Gonna send Hendrix back, and now the Clinks with a few right clicks. Big global silence though, gonna keep him safe. And he almost brings down Crystal and the Earthshaker with just 2 right clicks, each of them being 3-shotted. Now the Rubik gonna get 3-shotted. Sonic Wave gonna fly through. Scream of Pain, not quite in range. He's going to get Hex beforehand. Finger comes out, but Crystal going to be dropped as well. Hendrix needs to ball away. Fisher onto 2, just going to sound the retreat. and it's a 3-0 for the Radiant side. Easy tier 2 mid, and definitely even some chip damage on this tier 3 if they elect to do so.
That was a bit messy coming out from the Radiant team. The global, although it does secure Clinks' position inside that fight, was probably a little out of place, but it doesn't matter. With the advantage that they have, they can't afford to take subpar engagements. More than a 15,000 net worth lead and 14,000 experience lead. Less than 20 minutes into this game, they're going to be breaking high ground here. If they don't do something quick, they're going to pull back Zinxes, but he still has an Aegis. He's going to burn that now. Or Spike's going to connect onto Feynman. Gyrocopter's on the backline. He's getting a lot of Rocket Barrage damage over onto the Queen of Pain, but she'll blink out to safety. He'll turn around, Sonic Wave, and a right click is going to be the death of the Gyrocopter, and Swarm Spirit is forced to retreat all the way back to base. If Zinxes can just find a target to stick onto, they're going to die in just a couple of shots. The silence is there. He can't get off Fisher hookshot, and Clockwork will jam it home. They have vision onto the high ground. Crystal is going to be chunked down to less than 2/3 of HP with just one Splinter Blast. And it feels like this game is almost over. Stormzer is going to zip in, but immediately bounced back by those cogs. And he can't go for any more. He really needed the Clockwork pickoff with that rotation. Looks like they're not going to immediately go high ground, but now with the Solar Crest on Zinxes, there's also nothing to stop them from sticking around. Silence is there on the Storm Spirit, but lucky enough for him, he was balling far enough back into his base.
Yeah, as a lucky play from Hendrix that he balls far enough back, but Zinxes is just doing way too much damage here. He's going to jump forward with the Vortex, but he's got no follow-up yet. And with the units coming into the base, maybe they put a bit of chip damage here, but now all of the Dire side has respawned, and the Radiant will be more than content with their spoils. Wait for their ultimates to come back up. They've got the Curse, no global though, but it will be back in 8 seconds. And with the Cold Embrace keeping them up and the Cook Shot cooling down as well, definitely look for them to re-engage here. Splinter Blast is there, and the last word will keep Runnel down. Sonic Wave comes through onto 2. Destro gonna fall here after. Poucho is there, jump for it, but Hendrix, but the global and the Winter's Curse on top of it, and they're gonna get a full team wipe onto the Dire side. Actually, Crystal gonna be able to survive. Doesn't even add to that engagement whatsoever. No heroes, no buybacks for the Dire side, and the GG going to be called a much smoother play from Germany in this game too, and a much quicker victory.
I think a lot of that comes down to Portugal just being thrown off their groove from game number 1. They changed up their roles. They tried to do something different, and it felt drastic, and that probably just goes to show that they're not as comfortable playing together as the players on the Germany team. Most of them were members from the old Goomba squad, and in general, they play together often. So we'll have to see how this progresses inside the group. That's going to be a clean 2-0 for Germany over Portugal.
Yeah, well played by Germany in that second game. Feynman really comfortable all series long on the Clockwork and played very well. But I think the laning decision, much more so in game 2, was really the discrepancy between the lineups. And Hendrix, although he found quite a bit in the mid lane, they stifled his farm in the jungle, and really just great movement all around from Germany. So we see the fruits of them having familiarity with one another, playing in Goomba, Pos, and a moment, notably so. So well played to Germany, and they get the 2-0 and 3 points in their first series in Group B.
Yeah, that's unfortunately the only series we have for today. The other series have been postponed. We don't know the exact dates and times of those yet, but stay tuned and just keep your ear to the ground and follow all of the ticker sites to make sure you know when the next ProDota National Cup games are going to be played. I think we're going to have a couple of series tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, so probably at about the same time. So see you there. I'm not sure if I'll be casting it. I'm not sure if More Age Please will be joining me there either, but thanks for tuning in today, and we'll see you for some future National Cup games.